Hello, I'm Gary Keenor and I'm part of the so-called Fizzy Knitting Collective, and we're developing a map of the UK's railway network showing which lines are electrified, which lines aren't electrified, and what system the electrification takes. And in this video I'm going to show you how to edit the underlying OpenStreetMap data that produces our mapping, and how to add the electrification data that allows that to be shown in the map. Right, so we'll get started. This is the first window that you'll see when you open JOSM. This is the main window. Before you are able to edit any mapping, you will have needed to have done three things. First of all, as well as installing JOSM, you need to install Java. You will not be able to run JOSM without Java. The second thing that you need to do is go to Preferences, click on the big world, and insert your OSM login credentials, and in order to obtain an access token and accept that, I've obviously blanked mine out for security reasons. That's the second thing you need to do. The third thing you need to do is to enable an overpass server by selecting an overpass server location from the drop down. So OK that. So the next thing you need to do is to actually find something that needs editing. We don't edit for the sake of it, we edit because something needs to be edited. So it just so happens that I was scrolling around within our electrification map earlier and spotted, and it isn't hard to spot these things because there are plenty of mistagged electrified lines on the UK in OSM. So here we see a 4-track section of the West Coast Main Line, a little bit north of Rugby. The red tracks are shown correctly as electrified with overhead line, but the black sections do not have the correct tagging, so they're coming through as black, and that is which junction is that? That's yeah, so that's a junction that I know for a fact is electrified because the team that I was working with at the time did the design for that. So we know that that needs to be electrified, and we know that that tagging isn't correct. So let's go back to JOSM. The first thing we need to do is download the area that we're interested in. So we click on the big download button here. We need to zoom out and go and find the location that we're interested in. So it's a bit north of Rugby, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take everything from north of Nuneaton to south of Rugby like that. Draw a box. Now, make sure when you're doing this that you are clicking on this tab rather than this tab. If you click on this tab and download, you'll get all the mapping within that box. But we don't want all the mapping, we don't want streets, we don't want buildings, we just want the railway. So this is an overpass query which will only return the railway assets within that box. So we've supplied this code on the site for you to cut and paste in here. So let's go ahead and download that. Now this can be a little slow, depends on how much data you're trying to pull down. There's usually a little bit of a wait before you get the data. Okay, so the first thing to do is to orient yourself and work out where you are and where you want to be. Now I can see that that's Rugby and that's Nuneaton, but it's not always that obvious, especially if you have lots of data you're bringing down. So the first thing I want to introduce you to before we get anywhere near editing anything is the layers and the imagery that's available. So if we go up here up to Imagery, we have a number of different imagery sources that we can pull down. So the two that I particularly like to use are just for general orientation and working out where you are is OpenStreetMap in black and white. Now this is the actual full OSM map. This is a render, so if we pull that down you can instantly see then where you are. We can see that we've got Rugby down here and we've got Nuneaton up here. So that's one option. Second option, and you'll see that that layer now appears up here. Another option which is good is the Esri World Imagery. You can also download. Let's try Bing. Let's put Bing in to start with. So there's Bing Aerial Imagery. Just a word of warning, a health warning on the imagery. It tends to be older imagery. These are not up-to-date images necessarily. You do need to be very careful when using imagery and working out whether it's the railway as it is today or whether it's the railway as it was 10 years ago. And there's various other things that you can play with these various different and you can, crucially, you can switch each of these on and off up here by clicking on the eye icon. You can switch those on and off to get you what you want or get back to a native map. So we've got our data that we want to edit. Let's just have a look at what these things actually are. So in OSM, if we zoom in on one of these tracks, we can see here we've got 3 tracks. Each track is individually shown. These are what are known as an OSM as ways. So I'm going to click on it and select it in the normal way. And these are the ways that we're going to edit. We're not going to move them around. We're just going to change the tagging. So the next thing to do is have a look over here. And over here you can see all of the tags for that way. And the majority of them we're not going to touch. We're only really interested in 3 tags. The first one is electrified. You can see here the electrified value is contact line. So that means it's correctly tagged with overhead line. Frequency, 50 Hertz. We know that all overhead line, AC overhead line in the UK is 50 Hertz. And then as we scroll down to the bottom, we've got voltage is 25,000 volts. So that's correct. We don't need to touch that. That all looks good. If there was something wrong here, we could double click and we'll bring up this dialog and we could change the value to whatever we want. So we could change it to 1500 volts. I'm not going to do that because that's not correct. But that's how you change something. At this point, it's important to understand that when we edit, we're only editing a copy of the data at the moment. So if, for instance, if I did accidentally change that to 1500 volts, accept that. I've just changed the local copy. You can see there it's now voltage is 1500. I haven't changed the master OSM data yet. Only when you commit the changes back to the master database is your work then committed. So if you make a mistake, don't panic. There is a very good undo system in here anyway. So I can go in here and say, right, okay, you're showing me that I set the voltage 1500, so I can undo it, and you'll see that it goes back to 25,000 there. But until you commit back to the OSM server, none of these changes will stick. So if you do a load of work and then realize you've made an enormous mistake, literally all you need to do is close down JOSM and cancel out of it, close down, and you won't change the OSM data. So how are we going to work out which of these ways, which of these tracks is not correctly tagged? Well, where I tend to start with is by searching for all the data that is correctly tagged. So if you go up to edit and then search, what you can do, this is really good, is you can type in any key value, any tag, and it will select all of the ways that have that value. So I've selected here electrified equals contact line, which is the official tag. And we hit search and we immediately get all of these items tagged. But what we can do now is we can zoom back in and we can start to scroll along. And we can immediately see, so we can see that crossover there is correctly tagged. And we can see all of this. Oh, now hang on a minute. So we can see some stuff here isn't correctly tagged. Right. So what we're going to do now is what I'm going to start doing is I'm going to start selecting. I'll start from, I think what I'll do is I'll start from here. I'll just select all of the lines. The reason I'm not leaving the whole area selected is sometimes you'll pick up, we're gonna edit the electrification type, the voltage and the frequency. And if you select everything in an area, you might be picking up, for instance, some 1500 volt overhead line or some 750 volt tram overhead line. And then you're going to go and edit the voltage and it will change everything to 25,000 volts. You don't want to do it. So just be very cautious when you're deciding what you actually want to edit. Right, so I'm just going to carry on clicking through. I know that this crossover is also electrified. I know that basically everything between Rugby and Brinklow is electrified. So I'm going to keep going. This is Newbold High Oaks Junction. I know for a fact that this is electrified, so I'm comfortable. These blue sections, by the way, are bridges. This is where the track goes over a bridge. You do need to select that as well. It is a separate way. So let's keep going. I'm going to go all the way to Brinklow, and I'm going to stop, and I'm going to then do the actual editing. All we're doing at the moment is selecting everything. Oh, we've got some more here. Keep going. Right, we've now reached Brinklow, which is where we go from 4 tracks to 3 tracks. So I'm just going to stop there. I'm not going to go any further, but you obviously could go further than this. Okay, so what do we do now? We need to edit those 3 tags. So go back to your tag dialog up here and find, first of all, the electrified tag and double click it. And you can see that we've got different values here. We've got some values that are correct and some that are not set. So all we're going to do is click on contact line and then OK it. And now all of those tracks are now contact line. Similarly, double click frequency. We've got different values. We want 50, it's 50 Hertz. OK that. And then the third one, the final one, is voltage is 25,000. And that's it. So now if we do a search again, and it's always worth doing this, do the search, and what you should now see is we are good all the way up there. We've still got problems further north, but for the moment, all I'm going to do is leave that there. So I'm going to commit that back to the OSM database, show you how to do that, and I'm going to go and edit one more area just to show you one other important thing that you will find yourself needing to do from time to time. So to commit back to the database, we simply click Upload All Changes. It's good practice to put in an explanation of what you've done. So I'm just going to say WCML, that's West Coast Main Line, electrification, tags corrected, and then you need to explain what you've done this based on. Well, I'm doing it based on my knowledge of the route, so I'm just going to put knowledge there. You could ask for someone to review your edits. I generally don't do that because I'm fairly confident that the data I'm inputting is correct. So, and then we hit upload changes, and that's it. And that's back in the OSM database. Now, when you go back and look at our maps, you're not going to see that change reflected straight away. It will take several hours before the change migrates into our mapping. So I'll probably leave it for a day and then go back and see whether your edits are correct. Always go back to the map and check that you got your edits correct. Okay, and if you didn't, you come back into JOSM, you pull the data down and you make the edits again. Right, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to delete that layer because we're done with that area, get back to a clean map, and now I'm going to go and I'm going to edit a particular set of tracks at West Ealing in West London that I know are not correct, to show you one other item that you will find yourself doing from time to time. So let's download this triangle of track at West Ealing, and let's see what we've got. Okay, so there we have it. So what we've got here is a triangle. I'm just going to show you what's already tagged as electrified. So what we can see is this is the Great Western Main Line 4-track railway, and that's correctly tagged as electrified. However, I know that these 3 sidings here are also electrified. So I want to tag those as being electrified. However, there's a problem, and the problem is that this track, this way here, runs up there. Now, obviously, it's connected to, this line is electrified, and this loop is electrified. So this section of the track here is electrified, but beyond that point, up here and around the rest of this triangle, it isn't. So we can, at the moment, we need to tag part of that way, not all of that way. So how do you deal with that? Well, what you do is you need to split the way. Right? In this case, and you need to split the way at a node. So each way is comprised of multiple nodes, and you can see the nodes because they're these little yellow squares here. So what we're going to do is we're going to split this way into two so that we can tag the electrified section correctly and leave the non-electrified section alone. So what we do to do that is we make sure that we've got select tag up here, select way or node up here, and then we select the node. And then we go up to the top, and under tools we hit split way. We get this dialog box, just say OK, that's fine. And now what we'll find, if we click out and click back, now we've got two separate ways. So that now means that we can go around and tag. We can go around and select the ways that we want to. By the way, it's the usual thing, hold down the control key to select multiple items. So we want to do the three sidings. It's only the three sidings that are electrified. That all is fine. That's not electrified. I'm going to tag these as not electrified shortly, but for the moment that's correct. So I'm going to double click on electrified. At the moment we can see that it's not set correctly at all, so we're going to pick contact line. OK. Now you'll notice that frequency and voltage tags are not set at all here. So what we need to do then is click on the add tag, and we'll get this. And what you'll find is as you use this more and more, that your frequently used tags and values will appear here. And there's quite a neat little trick here that so we want to set voltage and frequency. It's already got voltage equals 25,000. If I hold down the shift key and hit enter, it will add that for me, but keep the dialog open. And then I click on frequency equals 50. And if I OK that, now we'll see that we've got frequency equals 50 and voltage equals 25,000 for those. So let's just click out of that. Let's zoom back out. And let's do that search again and just see what we've got. And now we can see that the three sidings plus the entrance to them are correctly shown as electrified, but the other lines are not. And while we're here, I'm also going to tag these lines as not electrified. So I'm going to go around now selecting everything else, making sure that I haven't missed anything. No, we don't want to do that one because that's the electrified lead-in. We've got that one there, these here, we've got this one, this one, this one, this one. We've got that one there. And from there it should be electrified, so that's correct. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is, we'll do a couple more. We'll go, oh no, we're not going to pick that one. I'm just going to stop there. Now what we'll do now is we'll say electrified is no. It's not electrified. Okay. And we hit OK on that. And that's it. Now I'm going to show you one more thing. Let's say I'm going to commit that back because I do actually want to make that change. So we're going to say West Ealing sidings shown electrified and upload those changes. So that's done that eventually. Here we go. So let's imagine for a moment that we wanted to split this way here, but we knew it was electrified to about this point here, but we don't have a node there. We want to split that way there, but we don't have a node. How do we split that way? Well, what we do is we can add a node and then split it. So what we do is go up to the left and click on draw nodes. All right, that gives you that cross, and then find the way that you want to split, find a spot, and then do a double click. 2 clicks in quick succession, and that will put a single node on. Just going to undo that, and I'm going to show you what happens if you don't double click quickly. If I just click once, now I'm starting to draw away. Right, now, if you want to draw track, this is how you do it, but at the moment we're encouraging people to work with what's already in OSM. So I'm just going to escape that, Control Z. So what I actually want to do is put a node in there. So double click, and now we get a node, and you can see it's selected because it's in black. If I go back to selecting ways, you can now see that there's a node there that I can select, and from that point onwards it's just like before, just split the way, and then once you split the way you can edit the section of the way that you want to. Okay, and it's as simple as that. Best thing to do is get stuck in, have a go, ask our advice. If you need help, just shout. We can check. If you want to do an initial edit and then get us to check it, that's absolutely fine. But the best thing to do is to have a go. Okay, good luck.